If we do it without you, it may take us 10 years, 5 years. If we do it with you, it may take us 3 years, 6 years. So we immensely appreciate the support, particularly of GIZ, particularly of the German government. But we also would like to show our commitment. This is our initiative for our children, for our forests, for our deserts, for our animals, our wildlife. So we are going to do it with the support or without the support. That's our commitment, mine and Madam Secretary's. As I said, if what I have said is true, and truthfully, it is going to come from a combination of strong demand which would come from policies and requirements, and also the proliferation of new industrial clusters, which would then require skills and education and competencies. Therefore, this forum is one of the most important fora for us. I'm very grateful that you're going to put together a program, and you're not just putting together a program conceived in Bonn or conceived in Brussels, but conceived here in Islamabad, where all of the people whose lives are actually going to get affected are present here. And I'm very grateful that we've all taken the time to listen to those guys, to listen to those people, to listen to those voices, to hear them out in terms of what deforestation means for them, what deserts mean for them, what dirty cities and smog means for them. What does it mean to find an abused animal who should be in the wilderness, in a cage, somewhere in a small city? Hear them out, and then to come up with some sustainable intervention that helps us go green, come up with solutions, come up with skills, come up with competencies, and help us together. Because our training people, our leadership is present here, which provides trainings to all across the sectors, whatever skills and competencies are needed. There is going to be a cross-cutting theme in terms of green jobs, in terms of green skills. It is not a skill. I mean, we've heard a bit about energy, we've heard about the renewables, but we haven't just even begun the conversation about green hydrogen. We are an agrarian society, and the most important thing for us are the fertilizers. And we haven't even begun to hear about green ammonia. We haven't spoken about hydrogen cells. And all of these things are cross-cutting. And we'll have to reform all of our systems, our education strategy, our health strategy, our innovation strategy. We'll have to reform all of these strategies in order for us to move forward. One of the biggest revolutions that we see right now is the mobility revolution. And in terms of EVs, the electrical vehicles, whether they be two-wheelers or three-wheelers or four-wheelers and two-wheelers, and three-wheelers are going to be most important, far more important in Pakistan than four-wheelers, unlike the developed economies. So in terms of their battery solutions, in terms of their charging stations, in terms of the material science, all of those things are going to build completely new economies, completely new businesses that we've not even foreseen. And there's a tremendous opportunity out there, not just to build the skills and the competencies to go out and serve that new emerging cluster, but also to build that cluster These services that I'm talking about, young men and women, and hopefully more women than men, they have an opportunity to go out and begin to provide services for these EVs, because the old school technicians may or may not be able to provide those services. The cars have changed. The recycling of the batteries, the new generation of batteries, the new generation of materials, all of these things present to you opportunities for new businesses. But these businesses are going to require new skills, and we've gotten together here to celebrate those skills. Pakistan is a large agrarian economy. Give or take 50% of our people are employed in agriculture. But we have one of the poorest productivities. And I'm not just talking about crop productivity. I'm also talking about the water use productivity for the yields for the crops. One of the poorest across the world. So the transition that we need to make in the way of access to water, in the way of quality of water, in the way of delivery of water. And delivery of water is important because one of the richest cities across Pakistan on a per capita basis is perhaps Islamabad. And a little kid in Islamabad can't even walk to the tap, open it, and drink a glass of water. I see here plastic bottles around this table. I question if, first of all, at this fora, we should have plastic bottles. But I put a bigger question in front of you. Why are you drinking from these plastic bottles? You're drinking from these plastic bottles because you cannot drink a glass of water from the tap. And those who cannot afford to buy a 100, 200 rupee bottle to drink a glass of water, what do you think they are drinking? Poison? What do you think all of these children living in communities which are not rich and affluent doing? What do you think a household which makes 30 or 40 or 45,000 rupees, what are we making them drink after 70, 75 years? Poison? It's not good enough for you, but it's good enough for them. So much for access and quality of water. Here, in one of the richest, I'm not talking about Tandu Adam. I'm not talking about Baluchistan. I'm talking about the capital city of Pakistan. And in the capital city of Pakistan, everyone sitting in this room for their own health protection is drinking from these plastic bottles. This is the opportunity. If we can have the technology to build up nuclear power plants, what does it take to have a pond of clean water and pipes that deliver that clean water to your house in a manner that you can drink a clean glass of water? This is the opportunity. This is the green opportunity. This is the opportunity that affects the lives of the poor. And therefore, the most important thing for us in moving forward are the outcomes. Not the treaties, not their ratifications, not the compliance to those ratifications. The most important thing is, after 50 years of this revolution of climate, how is the life of a poor woman living on a farm affected? Is she able to take care of her children? Is she able to take care of her environment? Has the burden of illness fallen down? And if not, these conferences and moots are probably not worth their own expense. And therefore, I'm also equally grateful that there's a big outcomes focus in my discussions right now that I had with the leadership of GIZ. There's a big outcomes focus, and we'd like to harness that outcomes focus and begin to see and begin to track how it's affecting the lives of the poor, of those who are less privileged. And I'm talking about here in the heart of the city, at a decent hotel. I've not even gone down 5 miles into the mountains. What to say of Balochistan and GB and all of those other areas where the infrastructure is much poorer? I mean, I can go on and on and on. I can talk about the floods. I can talk about the displacement of floods, which is more important than floods. I can begin to talk about the lives of the people who get displaced, about civilizations that get washed away because of the melting rate of glaciers. But while I'd like to talk about the technical interventions, about what we need to do to save glaciers, I'd like to humanize this idea. And every step of the way, when you will talk to me about ratification, when you would talk to me about treaties, I'll talk to you about people. Every single time we'll accept a grant with thanks and gratitude. I would challenge our own ministry to show me where that grant has gone. And project offices is not an outcome that I'm interested in. Project staff is not an outcome that I'm interested in. Papers that come out of these projects is not something that I'm interested in. You'll have to show me the outcomes. You'll have to build an evidence for me. And if there's no evidence, there's no outcome, these treaties are not worth the weight of the paper on which they are published, not the drop of ink with which it's signed. And that is the focus with which Madam Secretary and myself would like to move forward. We have spoken a whole lot about renewable energy. But what we haven't said is that the evaporation of energy, the destruction of energy, the destruction of climate, the carbon burden of energy, most of it, 60 to 70%, is coming at the demand side, not the supply side. And all of the discussion is about the supply side. But what about the energy utilization? Come to my office, and I would show you how the energy that is produced that we want to reform is getting evaporated out of the windows. Go to your own homes. That's the real carbon burden. So we will have to think not just about the supply side, which is an easier thing to think about, but also the demand side, demand management, conservation, zoning, construction materials, construction science. Now, how many opportunities are there? You guys have all seen our homes being built. You guys have all seen our cities being built. You've seen the utter disregard of zoning. You've seen China cutting. You've seen in the Magla Mountains what happens. And as they say, and yet Brutus is an honorable man, and that would be me. So I think we need to change that. I think we need to rethink. I think what is going to matter the most is to think different. Imagineering is basically a competence that we will have to build before we get into the nitty-gritties of technologies and skills and competencies. I mean, I don't know where to begin, and I don't know where to end this conversation. Yesterday, day before yesterday, we had the largest mining conference in Pakistan. The first one I hosted, the second one my friend Ali Malik hosted day before yesterday. The Prime Minister hosted, the Chief hosted. It was the biggest conference. But the biggest component of mining, in terms of climate, in terms of communities, is the sustainable development, sustainable mining, green mining, because mining is also a sink of water and energy. It is not just digging holes and claiming land first and then reclaiming it. It is not just about displacement. It is about water. It is about energy. So building a whole responsible ecosystem around this mining, which is a tremendous transformational agenda of Pakistan, is equally important. So we need to put our arms around the mining revolution now, as it takes place. We need to set the standards now, not later. Once it has happened, you're already in the carbon sink. Then you talk about what to do with the carbon that you have sunk. So I would say that building those resilient communities, building that resilient ecosystem, making sure that there's responsible use of water, making sure that people who are committing themselves in those mines to transform the lives of our children, who are going to be the users of those technologies which are going to come about from the copper that gets dug out. We share that responsibility as well. And I would like to challenge the world, which is at the forefront of this revolution of electrification, for which copper is essential. The users of that mud which is going to be dug, and the communities that are going to be displaced, to also be responsible and participate with us. Because they are going to be the users of that material that comes out, far more than us. So we'd like to join your hands, and we'd like to work with you to make sure that as we dig those holes, we do them in a responsible manner. And there are tremendous services. And I would, with your permission, Wolfgang, Mr. Wolfgang, with your permission, I'd like to make a comment. Europe has come up with a green compact, with a green contract. And Europe has articulated that green contract in the way of CBAM. And that's fantastic. But let me remind you that 85% of the green financing of the world is going to three countries, one region and two countries. To the United States, 85% of the green financing is going to the United States, to China, and some Western European countries. 85%. So if you're going to have us stamp our products green, where is the financing going to come from? Where is the skill to go and do the carbon audits at the industrial level? Where is the competence? Where are the companies we are going to green certify or green stamp our products? And next year, CBAM is going to come into effect. Next year. So I ask you if it's an industrial policy or a green policy. Is it a policy to keep the developing countries out and put tariff on them and ask them to make a transition for which the financing is not available? If you ask us to get over a hurdle for which financing is not available, technology is not available, consulting is not available, standards are not available, accreditation is not available, it's, if you allow me to say, it's simply an industrial policy to keep us out. It's a tariff regime, no different than the tariff regime that we are all celebrating these days. I use the word celebrating in a very